how the 24 U.S. presidential election could be stolen.
Yeah, when I went through this, it was it was a little vague. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. It is a little vague because it's meant to be a little vague. There are several perfectly legal ways to steal a U.S. presidential election, according to election law expert Lawrence Lessig.
All right.
Lessig says the U.S.'s election and legal systems are vulnerable and need immediate correction. Right after the Democrats win the elections, of course.
Of course.
What this article says, and I'm not going to go through and read the entire transcript because it is quite lengthy. I'll read a little tiny bit of it just to give you the flavor of what's going on here. One guy says Trump did not win the state of Georgia. Raffensperger, a Republican who had supported Trump, resisted Trump's pressure, but 4 days later, January 6, 2021, rioters attacked the U.S. Capitol as lawmakers were voting to certify Joe Biden's victory. Many of the attackers were motivated by the false claims that the election had been stolen. So right there, you can tell that this article is all about smearing Trump, the Republican Party, and the idea that elections can be stolen, but in the same breath, they're telling you that they can legally steal elections by bending the laws, and then they need to fix those laws so that you can't steal the election back.
Yeah, correct. And listen, this lawfare, it's total bullshit.
It's the new battlefield.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. All right. I think this is where the left really fucked up.
Yes.
All right. Because we have been dealing with a legal system which has been chronically broken for at least 30 years.
Yes.
I think no-fault divorce in the 70s was the linchpin that broke it.
I would agree, and that gives us 50 years.
And then we had Joe Biden with all of the bullshit during the 80s, and he
Clinton
spearheaded
signing the VAWA Act in 1994.
Well, I know, but he spearheaded the prison industrial complex.
Yes.
And we have all kinds of people getting thrown in prison for bullshit. They hold you in jail for a year, 2 years. They keep postponing your trial. And then if you take a plea, we'll let you out now.
The people from January 6th have been held there for 3 years now.
Yeah. And some of them in solitary confinement.
Yeah.
But my thing is this. Is all of those people have been dealing with the frustration of our legal system, have now witnessed it being used against a former fucking president of the United States who is a billionaire, who is, before that, he was famous as hell. And guess what?
Yeah.
That lit a fire under a bunch of people's asses saying, you know what? If the system could go after that guy, that no one is fucking safe at all. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yes.
It's exactly what they're doing. It's the exact same. That's the exact technique that they're using. This guy says, yeah, it's a lot to think about. Before we talk about how the election could be stolen this time around, let's go back to the riot at the Capitol on January 6th. You say that as tragic as that day was, the guardrails of democracy held, and you say that, in fact, it was the dumbest thing Trump and his supporters could have done. And the other strategies that they are employing, we're employing, explain that. So what he's saying here is he wants you to think that that what happened at the Capitol that day really happened the way that they described it. First of all, it wasn't an attack. We were there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest. I knew some bad shit was going to happen.
Yeah.
I went back to the hotel in Virginia.
Yeah. You got clear. I was on Overwatch over radios.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't physically on the ground there, but the reports that I was getting back, nobody stormed the Capitol. There was a lot of stuff going around the perimeters and everything, but if they had wanted to tear that building to pieces, there were enough people there to do it.
Yep.
And nothing got damaged. I think somebody took a podium and a flag from Nancy Pelosi's office.
I think there was a couple vases broken or somebody kicked.
I can't remember what the number was.
Rise to the level of a riot.
Yeah, it was less than $1 million of damage done. But yet, 2020. Those riots were justified, peaceful but fiery.
And they were actually telling us in the media that there was one or two people pulling security were killed. That was patently false.
At January 6th?
Yeah.
The
guy died of a heart attack.
One guy died of a heart attack. One guy died later in the hospital of something else.
Yeah. but they
Yep.
weren't killed.
The only person that was killed there was Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley, no, there was another woman who died later as well, who was beaten by DC police.
I never heard that one.
She was beaten and died later in the hospital. DC police killed her.
Ah.
And it's on video of them just literally holding her and beating the crap out of her.
Yep, and Capitol Police beating the hell out of people trying to pull her out from underneath the beating.
And firing tear gas rounds from a 203 launcher into people.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Tear gas, flashbangs, it was the works.
But listen, if this gets dynamic, you're going to see a lot of that up close and personal, and it's going to visit every family in America.
So in the lead up to that election, Matt Seligman and Lessig taught a course at Harvard called Wargaming 2020. And we had the students work through the strategies that would have been available to flip the otherwise decided election. And of all the strategies, of course, we never imagined the idea of marching on the Capitol. Of course they didn't. Lessig and Seligman are both Bolsheviks from Harvard. Somebody in the chat asked what Bolshevik was. The Bolsheviks are the communists from Russia that were funded by bankers from New York and initially led by a man named Trotsky, whose real name was Lev Bronstein, who was a Ukrainian Jew. The Bolsheviks were the primary core of the communists in Russia during the 1917 revolution. 83% of their leadership was Jewish. 100% of their journalists were Jewish. These are just recorded facts in history. Make of it what you will. But the Bolshevik movement has carried on today. You don't necessarily have to be Jewish to be a Bolshevik. Colleges are full of them.
Yeah.
They're full of them. And it's a virulent strain of communism that believes in killing anything in its path that resists it. That is pretty much Bolshevism. Its leadership, go have a look. Just go have a look.
Well, you have to go find the older books because I'm sure they probably...
I have the older books.
They've censored a lot of that out of the newer ones.
Yeah. But all you need to do is go to the colleges and see which professors promote Bolshevism.
And listen, we're not pushing like some...
It just is what it is.
Agenda. We're just telling you how the facts...
It is what it is. I've got a big Irish family. Guess what? Half of them are drunks.
That's fine. That's just the way it goes.
It is what it is. Okay. So this is a whole thing here.
We're not going to read the whole thing.
God, no. God, no. I have no intention of that.
Yeah, you guys don't come here to have us read the articles. You actually come here.
I could read a hop on pop.
Oh, stop it.
Wow. Anyway, the whole point of this article is they literally sit here and talk about how they plan to overthrow the election and how to steal it legally and how, after they get elected, of course, they need to change those laws to make sure that nobody can do this.
Correct.
So
this is going to get bad.
It's going
to get real bad.
Yeah.
Man.
So rather than steal the election, what else could we do? Well, USA Today fact checks the idea of no, it's not possible to cancel the American presidential election. Here's a fact check for you. Anytime a leftist organization says fact check, it means they're nervous about the idea and they want you to forget that it ever existed.
Yeah. And listen, all right. I don't really understand why we have to have all of these fact checkers in place other than for censorship,
control propaganda,
and guidance. Now, listen, part of being free is to fucking make your own goddamn decisions with unbiased information.
Not allowed.
Yeah. We can't do that today because we're not truly free.
It's true.
We literally live in an elevator and they're piping in the elevator music to us to make us fight and all the other bullshit.
It's true.
100%.
It's absolutely true.
I want out of the elevator, man. This is bullshit.
I'm done with the whole
thing. I'm
getting
spun up. I keep swearing. God.
This is a sweary episode. God! This is absolutely a sweary episode. So the claim is that discussions are underway to cancel the 2024 presidential election. I guarantee you that these discussions are happening on both sides. More so at the leadership level and actually in Congress amongst the Democrats, and more so on the right side of the house by your average guys who are sitting around with beers at deer camp going, we should just go cancel that goddamn thing. That's true.
It's not going to go over well.
the leadership of those people who still believe in the idea of a United States of America are the weakest, most pathetic, saddest creatures I have ever met in my life. And I honestly believe most of you should kick your oxygen addiction before the Democrats, because I've never seen such spineless weaklings in my life.
Are you talking about the GOP?
No, why would I be talking about the GOP? Turn in your meat suits, you fucks. Who said that? A January 14th Instagram video, direct link, archived link, shows a woman saying there are conversations about calling off the presidential elections in the United States. There is more and more talk about a possible cancellation of the elections in the United States this year, reads the video's caption in Spanish. How do you see the possibility that, like Ukraine, the elections in the United States will be canceled? Canceled them in the Ukraine. Oh, looks like a test run to me.
Yeah.
This post was liked more than 8,000 times in a week. Our rating, this is USA Today, by the way, which is basically a Bolshevik newspaper. Our rating, false. There are no credible news reports about the 2024 presidential election being called off. The Constitution does not mention any provisions about the option to cancel federal elections. No U.S. presidential election has ever been canceled. I think that is false.
Well,
by way of the War of 1812.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning a huge event taking place. That could be either a pandemic, another one, though I don't think it would be as effective because a lot of people have been hurt and injured by the first one. A nuclear warhead goes off somewhere. World War III kicks off. Something like that. I mean, there's going to be a big false flag event of some type. Then they're going to try to justify
the hair on the back of my neck has been standing up for the last 6
and they're going to sell it like this.
Something's wrong.
They're going to sell it. We're going to postpone the election, just like we're going to 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
They've already played that game once and they were successful. They turned 2 weeks into 3 fucking years. There you go.
The data for that whole 2 weeks thing, I screenshot that every day.
Yeah.
For like months. I've got all of those, and you can see where they're lying about. South Dakota didn't want to do it. They didn't do anything. And they're like, oh, everybody in South Dakota is going to die. And then the states that were complying, you're doing great. Just keep going. Just 2 more weeks. Just flatten that curve.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept doing this over and over again. I have screenshots of that whole period. It occurred to me that I needed to archive that because guess what? It's gone now.
Yeah, we should probably do a show on that.
I could probably do that.
Yes. In fact, I would love to revisit this whole COVID horseshit.
Okay. We've got enough material, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's totally not like the Governor Newsom took sand from the beaches and filled them with skate parks.
Yep.
To stop people from going outside, arresting people for
paddleboarding
alone.
Sand off the beach and filled the skate parks.
Yeah.
That.
No, that totally did.
Fantastic episode in California where a jogger was out jogging by himself on the beach, and the police attempted to approach him, and he just straight up outran him. The cops are like, "Ooh!"
All right, Jimmy, what were you saying?
What's that, Jimmy?
No, I was just gonna say I just mentioned the skate parks and the paddleboarder being surrounded by police boats. And arrested by 4 officers, but they're totally not wanting to, come in contact to infect you or anything. But yeah,
I gotcha.
Yep, that was
what
good
a bunch
stuff.
Of shit.
So, Article 2 of the Constitution grants Congress the power to choose the timing of the general election according to the National Constitution Center. In 1845, Congress established this would occur on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in the month of November. Every 4th year, a date which has served as election day ever since. Feels arbitrary to me, but there it is. The Constitution also mandates that the outgoing president and vice president's terms end on January 20th at noon, and that the president and vice president will have terms of 4 years, members of the House of Representatives 2 years, and senators 6 years. A lot of you don't know, because they don't teach it anymore, there used to be no term limits for presidents.
Yes.
Several presidents did 3 terms.
Yeah.
and one or two did a term and then came back later and did another term as well.
I'm not up to speed.
I'd have to go. I don't know it that well, but I know some of them served 3 terms.
But that's another thing we need to deal with too, is these term limits for people working in the government. We shouldn't have people in the government for half a century. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, it was Congress during FDR's third or fourth term that said, "Oh, no one needs to have this certain amount of power." There's people that have been in Congress pretty much or in politics since FDR was still alive and still president.
When the government was designed, representatives did not get
paid.
You got paid per diem. You got paid for the time that you were there. Then you would go home and do whatever job it was that you did.
Yep.
It wasn't until the 1800s that it started to become a full-time job, and now it's basically just an organized crime, an interstate organized crime organization.
And another thing they need to do is
RICO violations.
I get sick and tired of them trying to push something through and it gets shot down, and then later on it gets bundled in with a bunch of other shit. If it can't pass on its own merit, it should never pass. Period.
It's called pork.
And guess what? If they're working too hard, fuck you. You should be there 24/7, 365, sleep on a fucking cot. It should be absolutely a miserable fucking job. You do it for 4 or 8 years and you're like, I'm out of here because this sucks.
Yeah.
And you go home.
Yeah, exactly.
You shouldn't be there for 50 years. We work too hard. We got to have the whole summer off. Eat all of the dicks.
Yep. Only work 140 days out of the year and get paid
a headache.
$147,000 to $177,000. But yet, and somehow, within 3 to 5 years, they're worth millions.
A bad bartender from New York is in her 3rd year of office and is worth several $1 million.
The last number I saw, and this might be wrong, 8.2 million.
Yeah.
How the fuck does that happen? Oh, I know. Corruption.
Yeah, exactly. So the Constitution also mandates that the outgoing president and vice president's term end on January 20th. We read that part there. In fact, there is no way to cancel elections outright, according to a 2020 report from Congressional Research Services. Why 2020 are they doing this research now? It states that there is no legal provision in the Constitution that allows an outgoing president to stay in office after January 20th outside of the ratification of a new constitutional amendment. Here's the interesting thing about this article. Have you ever seen an article at all about whether or not you could cancel the presidential election?
I can't recall ever seeing one.
I think this is the first one that I've seen.
Yeah. Well,
doesn't mean they don't exist. If any of you can find another article, please send it so that we can see. It has to predate 2020.
Well, here's the thing. They're wargaming their brains out right now. All right. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Potato Head Biden.
Yes.
He does not want to leave office. He wants to run. He thinks he's fine because he knows if he doesn't stay there, he's fucked. His son is going to get sacrificed.
Yes.
And his wife is probably going to go down with him.
There's one other thing this article tells us.
That they're planning this.
That they're planning to cancel the presidential election. Exactly correct. Here's why it would be tough for Democrats to replace Joe Biden on the presidential ticket, which is what we were just looking at. Rolling Stone generally got into it. Here it gets a little more specific. Joe Biden's halting performance has led to some of his own party to question whether he should be retained on the ballot. There's no evidence Biden is willing to end his campaign, but it would be nearly impossible for Democrats to replace him. Here's why. Delegates Biden won in the primaries are pledged to support him. Every state has already held its presidential primary. Democrat rules say that the delegates Biden won should support him at the party's upcoming national convention unless he tells them he's leaving the race. What's written there?
Well, they're saying unless he tells him to leave the race.
There's no law that says they have to. They're trying to hold this article, this AP article, somebody is behind this, whispering over the writer's shoulder.
Propaganda?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
let's just make the masses believe that we can't get rid of this guy. We need to hold things together. These people are afraid for their jobs.
Yes.
And probably fearing for their lives because they would kill us if they got the opportunity. That's just how they operate.
They're literally standing up a lich, an undead wizard, to run this country. And they're like, oh, wow, we want to keep our jobs, so just keep him standing up.
That's more of a 2-hit die zombie than a lich, dude. Liches have like abilities.
I know. You're right. He's
D&D geeks.
Yeah. Yes,
fucking nerds.
I would say
That's a true story.
I would say more like a 4-hit dice ghoul.
Okay, I'll go with 4-hit die ghoul.
Yeah, okay. We'll agree on that.
Definitely not a lich, though.
No. Yeah, okay.
Okay, the president indicated he had no plans to drop out, telling supporters in Atlanta shortly after he left the debate stage, let's keep going. Biden campaign spokesperson Lauren Hitt was even clear, saying on Friday, of course, he's not dropping out. This is the part of the Democrat Party that wants to keep Biden. Again, the in factions. You've got the people who want him out, the people who want to keep him in because they don't want to lose their jobs. And then the oligarchs who are going, do I really need to give you $10 million this year? Maybe we should discuss what you can do for me.
Well, we all know money ain't free.
Money is not free.
If you are getting money to run for political office, there's always an implied, how shall we say?
Cost
to it, yes.
Mm-hmm. The conventions and the rules are controlled by the political parties. The Democrat National Committee could convene before the convention opens on August 19th and change how things will work, but that isn't likely as long as Biden wants to continue to seek re-election. Again, trying to hold the party together, whoever is talking over this AP writer's shoulder. The current rules read, delegates elected to the National Convention pledged to a presidential candidate shall in all good conscience reflect the sentiments of those who elected them. This is not law again.
Yep.
So VP Kamala Harris couldn't automatically replace Biden. The vice president and Biden's running mate doesn't mean she can swap for him at the top of the ticket by default. She's not qualified for one. She's not American. She was not born in the United States of America. I don't care who says what. It's proven. It's clear. It's obvious that she wasn't born in the United States of America.
And they fought this battle in the Supreme Court, 4 times in the past 230 years?
Other potential Democratic candidates would also face challenges. In addition to the vice president, others that endorse Biden in 2024 while harboring their own presidential aspirations for future cycles include Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, Governor Pritzker, and California Rep. Ro Khanna. Okay, look, Josh Shapiro, Pritzker, and who the hell is Ro Khanna stand no chance at all. Hair gel and butt stretch are the two real serious candidates there. And Stretch and Gretchen's been getting. I'm sorry, did I say that?
I'm sorry, Gretch. I didn't mean to. Know 2 guys you went to high school with, though, that seem to think that that's the case.
Yeah.
I actually know 2 guys that went to high school with her.
Yeah.
They're the real threats, and they have been put forward, and Gretchen has been getting a lot of play. Hair gel, not so much. Nobody really likes him. He's the game show host that everybody loves to hate.
Yeah.
He would make an excellent game show host on a game show where everybody fucking hates the host but wants to see what happens next.
I don't know. My opinion is we need to clear the slate and start over because it is so fucked.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think all of Washington should be like scraping a plate. Scrape it all off into the trash can, completely start over.
Fire everyone, starting over.
Yep. All the way down.
Yep.
Dump it all into the fucking garbage disposal, hit the button for about, 5 to 10 years and then we'll start over.
I agree. I might keep the janitor and the lady who runs the coffee kiosk.
I don't know, man. they smurf my balls.
But they're both probably foreign service agents. So
we're coming up on that time.
Are we coming up on that time? So to sum up, ladies, the Democrat Party is imploding hard. We've seen article after article tonight. The donors are questioning what they're doing. The people supporting Biden are desperately trying to cling to their jobs. The people who are against Biden are trying to run Gretchen and Hairspray Dan out there against freaking Biden. And there's a bunch of other people out there who just don't know what's going on. They're panicking because they know they're about to lose their jobs if the Democrat Party fails. We're about to see a world-class shit show that hasn't happened
Ever.
since the days of Rome.
Yeah. Oh, it hasn't happened in American history.
Never happened.
Now, there were some dicey elections back in the 1800s.
Nothing like
this, though.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Popford supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.